I'm Gautam, aka the Seeker of Wisdom. I'm a manifestation coach, and in this video, we're going to be talking a little bit about comparing yourself with others. Now, before I do so, I'd like to remind you guys I am available for coaching, so I offer hourly, monthly, email, and DM coaching. The link will be in the description down below for an FAQ page where you guys will have all the answers you need. And thereafter, you guys can reach out to me via Instagram or email for pricing information and to figure out what plans may be suitable for you. I also have a Facebook group. I upload resources from time to time, as well as you guys can ask me questions anonymously if you wish to do so. Make sure that you answer the 2 questions and agree to the group rules. Otherwise, my moderators will decline you with feedback asking you to do the exact same thing. I also have a mailing list where I post articles from time to time, as well as my latest offers for coaching. And last but not least, I also have a revamped new Manifesto SP course, which is designed for veterans and for beginners alike, which essentially brings you from the beginning of your core, your manifestation journey till the end. It comes with quizzes and worksheets to aid you along the way, and it's super detailed. And basically, the revamped version of it is designed based on the feedback of people who already purchased the course, and also with the help of beta testers as well. So, beta testers were pretty much my clients who I had formerly. Some of them participated in the beta testing program, and I revamped the entire course, and right now it's really good, and the feedback has been really amazing. So if you are manifesting your SP, be sure to check that out. Link is in the description. So if you guys need any information on that regarding how do you do the payment or how do you sign up for an account, do let me know, and I will definitely address it via email or Instagram DMs or whatnot. So without further ado, guys, let's get to it. So comparing with others is something that I've always wanted to talk about. I have spoken about it, from time to time in other videos, but I really wanted to sit down here and talk about like just this topic alone in a video, because I feel like this has been going on for a while, and I feel like I just need to address this and like what you can do to kind of stop this from happening in the first place. Social media has kind of put this pressure on people, right? Like to constantly compare themselves with others. Like they have this like thing that they can always compare themselves, right, with the perfect Instagram photos, the perfect Facebook posts, and so on and so forth, right? And when people are constantly comparing themselves, the primary thought is, oh crap, like I have to be better than these people, or oh no, look at them, they are having such a good life, like look at me right now, and things like that, right? And like I think it's in our nature to kind of sometimes look at that and feel that way. Like I think it's only natural, because when we are looking at something so perfect, and when we look at our lives and then we are thinking, oh no, where are we going wrong, kind of thing, right? But the thing is, like, everything on social media is not true, right? When you are looking through someone's social media, like, remember that it's like peeking into someone's house, right, through a window. You can only see what they allow you to see, if that makes sense, right? So if you're going to judge your entire life based on what you see on someone's Instagram feed or Facebook posts, or like even like a success story, which I'll get to, I feel like you're doing a disservice to yourself. Or if you're just comparing yourself with someone else in general, you're doing a disservice to yourself, because it's not being fair to the journey that you have been through thus far. You're not honoring yourself that way, and you're beating yourself up, you're underestimating yourself, and you're doing all these things simultaneously, and no good is going to come out of it, because you are going to live with yourself, and rather than addressing the actual issues, what you're doing is, you're saying, how is, you're victimizing yourself, right? You're saying, well, how did they do it and not me, sort of thing, right? And there are so many forms this takes, and I deal with it on a daily basis sometimes. That like clients will always come up to me, and they will wonder, like, hey, where am I going wrong, what am I doing wrong, like I just don't get it. And one thing that they will cite is another person to kind of compare themselves with, right? So like this is something that I've seen time and time and again. And also one thing that I've noticed is that just through the experience of coaching a lot of people, I can tell you right now that whatever that you see on Instagram is completely not true sometimes. Like, in the sense that, like, not I'm not saying like people always post fake things and stuff, but like if you're watching something, or if you're like reading a post, like know that again you're only seeing what they want you to see. There are things that are going on behind the scenes that you will have no freaking clue of. Like, this is a fact, and I know some of you already know this, like, intellectually, but I want you guys to kind of comprehend this. Like, think about your life, think about what you post, and compare it with your life, and see how accurate this is, like how matching it is, like tonally, like excitement wise, right? Like, do you have that same level of enthusiasm as you do in social media, for example? Is your life really like vivid and bright as it is in social media? Like, these aren't questions to kind of criticize you, but it's to kind of just bring that awareness. If it's this for you, it's the same for everyone. So stop underestimating yourself and stop putting pressure on yourself, by comparing yourself, is what I mean, right? I wanted to briefly kind of touch on success stories, for example, because this is something I always get, right? Oh, hey, some of my clients will do this, like by comparing themselves to other clients of mine, right? And they'll be like, hey, whenever I post a success story, right? Like, I'll always get this, hey, what did this person do? Am I going wrong somewhere? What did you tell this person that like, did you tell them the same thing as you did for me? And my answer is always yes. Like, it's not like, I mean, obviously, like, my approach varies from client to client, in the sense that not everyone is resonate with visualizing, for example. So then we go through something different, and so on and so forth, but essentially the information that I share is the same for all clients, right? Like, that doesn't change. So when they ask me, okay, did you say something different to them, and my answer is no. I mean, slightly, the approach will vary from person to person, yes, because that's just your style, and everyone has a different style of like manifesting, because we are all unique that way, right? We are all unique people that way. We have like different personalities, we have different childhoods, we have different talents and different learning styles, and so the techniques that we kind of choose or the routines will vary. But when it comes to the information I share, I literally say the same things to all my clients, right? So one thing that I will always like tell these kind of clients is, what, don't compare, because you are dishonoring yourself by doing so. Like, look at your own journey. If they can get success, firstly you can get it too, right? Look at your own journey, and you just keep going, you just keep persisting. That's all you really need to do, right? The moment you think, why am I going wrong, that is when you go wrong, because maybe up till now you weren't even going wrong in the first place, right? And regardless of what you see, you stick to your vision, right? I spoke about it briefly in one post, where I was saying, like, don't be pressured to do everything at once just because another person is, for example, right? Just because you see a person who has it all doesn't mean you have to compare yourself with that person and try to manifest everything immediately, all at once, right? Because what it does is put pressure on you, unnecessary pressure, right? What I would suggest that you do is focus on a few things, like maybe 2 to 3 things, and just focus on manifesting that, and more importantly, not compare yourself with others in the process of doing so, right? And you have to stay faithful to your vision, because what happens sometimes that I've noticed is some people will change their desires by comparing them with others. Oh, this person is trying to manifest this, I'm going to do like like just like them, or I'm going to manifest something bigger, right? And their goals keep changing, and the question is, hey, like you need a clear goal in order to manifest something into your life, right? Because your attention has to be there, right? Your mental diet has to be favorable, and then it manifests, right? So the question really is, well, by doing this to yourself, are you doing any favors for yourself, right? Like, are you by focusing on something different every now and then, by comparing yourself with others, maybe because you read success stories or something, right? Exactly are you doing to yourself? Are you helping yourself here? Probably not. So sit down, think about what exactly you want, and then begin your manifestation journey, right? And then begin your process. One thing that I always see is that people tend to beat themselves up when it comes to success stories, like, okay, when someone has manifested it with X amount of time, why am I taking so long? There are different factors here, right? One have you been putting in the effort, right? Plain and simple, have you been putting in the effort, right? Have you been following your techniques? Like, have you been doing all those things? Like, that's one thing. The other thing is, like I said, like our childhood really affects a lot of different things. So, like maybe we have, old story, regards to a particular desire. Maybe you said you wanted a car, but your family was not so wealthy in the past and you guys couldn't afford a car, and like somehow that kind of stuck with you, or you always had to walk and like things like that. So maybe, manifesting a car always seem like a very far-fetched thing for you, right? Whereas for another person, they think about it, maybe in a week they get a car, right? And you have been trying to manifest a car for a month or two or even 3 or even 6 or 7 months, right? And you think, well, why am I going wrong? Maybe you're not going wrong because there's already a preconceived notion there that you are, overcoming in the process of sticking to the new story. And naturally, when you don't have any preconceived notions and when you don't have any old story to kind of hold you back, right, you are going to manifest faster. Because once I tell you something, okay, you now have a car, you're like, okay, if you don't have a old story, like that's unfavorable, right? And that's the thing, like in some cases you may have a preconceived notion that could be potentially be holding you back, there unfavorable set of assumptions that you kind of grew up with, if that makes sense, right? One thing that I think many of us kind of grew up with at one point was like money is hard, or you have to work hard to get money and things like that, right? So, when we sort of compare ourselves with someone who didn't have any limiting beliefs on money, and then we compare ourselves like, hey, why am I going wrong? Well, your past beliefs. So you need to like sit down and kind of address that, right? And the other thing is that, just because you are taking an X amount of time to manifest it and a person manifested faster than you, you don't have to gauge, oh, he or she is a better manifester than me. I suck at this because I can't manifest it with. No, there's no such thing, right? I've had literally, this phone was literally a manifestation that almost came months later, I would say. Like it really took a lot of time. Like I started manifesting it maybe say at the end of March, and it only came at like I would say like November or December. So it was like, it really changes from person to person, right? Like I've had, like I said, like, months long with them, but that doesn't mean your manifestation doesn't come true, right? That's the thing. Like it doesn't mean it won't come true. So you stay faithful to your vision, and it has to pan out in your favor, right? So again, stick to your own lane, stick to, looking at your own visions, and stick to them, stay faithful to them, and you just keep going until you get the results. You don't have to compare yourself to kind of troubleshoot anything, right? There's no problem solving that needs to be done, guys, when it comes to manifesting anything, right? You just stick to what you know, you just stick to what you desire, and it will be yours, right? There's nothing else to do but staying faithful that your wishes are already fulfilled and feeling it real in your mind. That's all that you need to do, right? So having said that, how do you sort of counter that thoughts of comparison? One, value yourself all the time, right? Like you cherish your presence, you value yourself, you honor how far you've come as a person and your journey, and the things that you've done thus far. And when you do that, you're essentially going to boost your self-concept, and like you're going to not even like be inclined to compare with yourself with like others, for example. The other thing is, you are so confident about yourself when you are working on your self concept, that you don't even feel like comparing yourself with anyone, because you recognize that you, just like everyone else, are so unique that whatever you bring to the table is practically irreplaceable, right? One thing that I can say as a content creator is there's thousands, if not millions, of pieces of content out there, right? And thousands of competitors, no, content creators, right? Sorry guys, I'm still kind of sleepy, but yeah, so there's a lot of content creators out there, right? Like tons and tons of content creators out there, right? And we are talking so many, social media platforms and so on, right? Here's the thing, like, do you think as a content creator, if I were to compare myself with others, like trust me, I wouldn't last a day. Like when I say that, like I wouldn't last a day. Now that's not to say that I sometimes don't feel like it. Like sometimes like I will be thinking, oh no, like should I do that, should I do this? I had these kinds of thoughts during my early content creation days sometimes. And I'll be like, and recently some of my friends told me to, don't compare yourself, And like we always have that kind of talk, like, you stick to your own lane, you stay faithful to your vision, and you just keep going. You just keep going. And because when you don't compare yourself, you don't do things to kind of emulate that person, and in the process even feel even more fake, for example, right? Because with social media, authenticity is like so valued, like originality is so valued, that when you try to emulate another person, it just feels so fake, not just for others, but it also feels fake for you, to the point where, like, you are feeling miserable, and that gets pushed out as well. And it's like, well, who is it benefiting, right? So don't do that to yourself. Like, don't even compare yourself at all with anyone. Like, recognize the value that you are bringing to the table, because that is really important. Because when you do so, you are really like putting yourself on the pedestal, basically, right? And that's the other thing, like by comparing yourself with another person, right, you're putting them on a pedestal, right? And therefore making them somehow better than you. And you come at it from a place of like, maybe I'm inferior to this person. And you know what, thought transmissions are real, like people can sense it. That's what they will tell you as well. I certainly had this. I compared myself with my sibling for as long as I knew at one point. And I had to stop it, because I had to recognize, hey, my sibling brings something to the table, while I bring another thing to the table, right? Just because we are different doesn't mean one is better than the other. We are just different. That's just what we are. Like, it's nature, right? So I always come at it from that perspective. And even right now, having taken a gap year, there was a recent like a uni graduation for all of my friends and stuff, like the girls, right? So because the guys here, like for those of you who don't know, in Singapore, like we have this like mandatory 2-year national service that we have to do. So like everything kind of gets pushed back a little bit for the guys. So that's why I specifically mentioned the girls who were studying with me, like my batch. They graduated. So, and I was just looking, I was like, wow, like you can certainly feel that, like, for a guy who is normally like, I'm not into like school and stuff like that. If you already know me, I'm like that. One of my friends joke, oh, so you're like on like Team Gary Vee or something like that. Yeah, like that's kind of like my stance on school. So I saw that, I'm like, oh my, like I was like telling myself, like, I'm probably never gonna wear that graduation outfit, like, ever, right? And I kind of felt bad about it for a minute. And I was talking to a friend about it, and my friend was like, you know what, don't compare yourself. Your path is so unique that, like, yeah, no one can even compare, with what you're doing and where you're headed in life. And your trajectory is completely different. That is not to undermine those people, but your trajectory is completely different. And we were just like bouncing off of each other, of that idea of like the trajectories being different. And that's the thing, everyone's trajectory is so different. Like, I wouldn't be where I am right now if I started to compare myself with others, right? If you know my story, like, that I am not the typical, kid that, or like that standard brown kid that, society kind of tries to mold me into, or mold every brown kid into. And like, if you're wondering, like, what's the typical brown kid, I would say career wise, it's either engineer, lawyer, or doctor, and those types of things, right? So I never fit into that mold. And most of my like kid life, teenage life, I would say I was trying to fit into that mold. And you know what it did? Like, all it brought me was sadness, anxiety, depression, not feeling good enough all the time, feeling like crap, feeling like I'm second all the time, or even last, right? Because I was not, you know, yeah, I really struggled to kind of be that person who I wasn't. And so all I did to myself was literally sabotage myself in that process, right? I wasn't doing something that I liked, and the thing that I was doing that I didn't like, I sucked at it. I was neither satisfying the ones around, my loved ones, my parents, for example, my teachers. They weren't happy with me. And you know what's the worst part? Like, guess what? Like, I wasn't happy with myself either. Why? Because constant comparison, right? So, like, that's the thing. So if society, like, like, didn't have that mold, right, and if I didn't compare myself to that, or like, I even tell this to like some of my clients who are parents as well, like, don't do this to your kids where like you're comparing them to like other children. Because I've had 1 or 2 clients where they will tell me like, you know what, other kids are so quiet and everything, my boy is so noisy. I was like, don't. He's amazing, he's a great child. Like, don't like even try to mold them into something. Maybe that's their way of expressing themselves, and like we will figure this out, like a way to, for them to like, be better. But like, don't think for a second that that is somehow bad, like when they're expressing something, some of their unique characteristics, right? So the point is, when you compare yourself, guys, like, it really is like self-sabotaging, because you are doing a disservice to yourself, right? Find your own path, honor that, and you keep going until whatever you want shows up in your life, right? And this applies to manifesting, this applies to life in general. Like, don't compare. Like, one thing that I often see is like, I as I spoke about, like, some people will say, well, how come this person manifested the SP within a week or a month? How come I have to do all this work? I don't think it's fair. Well, here's the thing, like, you like I can see why you think it may not be fair. But here's the thing, like, that is in the past, right? You can sit here either and bicker about it, but you can go there and change your thoughts, and think favorably and assume favorably, and just keep going until it shows up. Like, comparing does not do any good for anyone. And if you feel like you're trying to find a better explanation, again, like as I said, everyone is so unique, the experiences are so unique, that like, things just happens differently. Things just happen differently for you, and you have a set of preconceived notions that are different from that other person who manifested it with ease. But what's the thing, like, one thing I've noticed is that everyone has like different strengths in different areas. Maybe you can manifest money easily, maybe that person can't. Maybe that person can manifest SP easily, and maybe you can't manifest it with ease. But that doesn't mean you will never manifest it. You just need to break your limiting beliefs there and things like that. But just keep going. You just keep going, regardless of what you see. You just keep going, and it has to pan out in your favor, right? So that's all, guys. Really, like, one thing I will say, just to kind of wrap this all up, is like, you can be stuck, in a point in life, like permanently, I would say, if you don't stop doing this to yourself, if you don't stop comparing yourself with others. Right? Because guess what? There will always be a person who you feel is better than you. There will always be a person who you feel is doing something, like, more efficiently or better. Or there's always that person who looks better than you, or excels at something that you have always wanted to, or pleases someone, or a group of people that you've always wanted to, and so on. But if you give or put an emphasis on those things, you will never like, go far, because you're constantly like sabotaging yourself, right? So it's like puncturing your own tire if you're like riding a car on the road. Like, why would you do that, right? So like, what I would say, stick to your own lane, stick to your own vision, and you just keep going. You just keep going, and you just keep persisting in the assumption that your desires are done. And if you ever want to compare yourself with anyone, you just compare yourself with the past version of yourself, who used to be in a position that wasn't maybe so ideal, or who used to dream of where you wanted to be, and that is where you are right now, right? I hope I'm making sense. So basically, your current self, right? So your current self, where like you are, like, because for me, like, one thing I'll say is that I wanted to be where I am right now maybe like 5 years ago, right? And that I'm grateful for that. I'm literally grateful for somewhere, like, to be in a place where I dreamt of at one point, like doing YouTube videos, doing coaching, for example, and like creating content that I always love, and things like that, right? And you would have similar things that you aspired for initially, and you reached it. So you just keep persisting, and you just keep like, being grateful for all the things that you're about to receive, and one day you will. So compare yourself with only your past self, and see the growth, recognize that growth, embrace it, and know that like, that is what's going to happen with your desires as well. You're going to receive your desires, you're going to shift into that, and before you know it, you already shifted into that. So yeah, that's all guys. So if this video resonated with you, be sure to drop a like and a comment down below. Turn on your bell notification so that you guys will know when I upload a new video every single week. If you guys have any questions, again, comment it down below. Be sure to subscribe guys, as it goes a long way. And you guys have been really supportive, so I'm really thankful for that. There's going to be more things coming on YouTube. I'm going to be uploading a lot of my Instagram stuff, my reels as well, because I know like not every one of you maybe would follow my Instagram reels and whatnot, or even follow my account. If you don't, like, definitely follow it. That's where I'm primarily based off of, but I'm also going to be uploading my reels and other things here as well. So guys, stay tuned for that. So guys, that's all. Stay safe and happy manifesting. Peace.